Hello and welcome back to UI Chat, the podcast where we discuss everything Ubiquiti and networking. I'm your host Alex, and as always, I'm joined by Evan. How are you doing, Evan?
Good. Good to be back for a double episode here.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I mentioned at the end of the last episode that we recorded at the end of March that probably the episode in April would be a little bit late, but reason being I was in China for a week or so. So when I got back, expectedly, I was just so tired. It took me ages to recover from the jet lag, about a week, which is pretty pathetic, to be honest. And yeah, I had so much on last month. I just didn't have time. We just didn't have time to get together and record for a bit. So apologies to those who are looking forward to the episode, but we've now got a double whammy to sort of get through. But there's been a lot of stuff. I'd say not a massive amount, but definitely a lot of stuff. You've gone through the show notes this time and laid out all the hardware, all the software that we can expect to see. But yeah,
and I guess we'll start off. I mean, I have to think back. It's been so long since we recorded or we were talking about Ubiquiti stuff. But on last episode 2 months ago now, we had talked about the FCC router ban. Of course, that only affects us poor people in the United States here, but just some quick follow-up on that. I did see Ars Technica had a good article kind of updating that because it was pretty unclear when that news came out, like how this was going to impact all the different router manufacturers that sell stuff here. So there are a few more approvals that it's on the company to apply for an exemption to this rule so that they can continue releasing software updates and selling their products in the US. So right now the approvals list is Netgear Nighthawk, Adtran, Eero, Calix, and Nokia on some very specific models on those. So there's still a lot of manufacturers that are not exempted. They're not listed as having their conditional approval. The thing that's really confusing to me about this is you can see the FCC postings specifically for Ubiquiti equipment, and I saw like there was the UDM Beast, which we'll talk about later, that was approved April 28th. So they're not under the approvals list, but they had a new router approved, and the grant date was in April. So I'm not really sure what's going on with this. It still seems kind of unclear. It seems like maybe they're still working through that list of approvals, and eventually I assume most, if not all, manufacturers will be on there, or they'll stop enforcing this rule. I don't know. But for now, we're still getting new hardware, and we have a lot of new Ubiquiti hardware to talk about later. The other, the big news from this kind of 2 month period that we're covering here was the Security Advisory Bulletin 64. Did you see anything about this?
Yeah, it affected us at Hostify, so we rapid deployed an update to UniFi OS server because it seems to affect everything. So it just seems to affect everything, hardware and software that runs UniFi OS. So UNVRs, UDMs, and it looks pretty serious. It's mainly to do with like a direct access to using the direct remote connection, because that uses port 443. But I don't know if you know more about it. I haven't spent a whole lot of time researching it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the actual bulletin, it says a malicious actor with access to the network and high privileges could exploit an improper input validation vulnerability found in UniFi OS to execute a command injection. I didn't hear about this originally from this bulletin. I originally saw it as a Reddit thread where someone said, hey, I had a administrator account added to my console. Like, is anybody else seeing this? And there was a good thread on Reddit on that. And then there was also a community forum thread on the same thing. And that seems to be the, if you translate that geek speak that I just said in the bulletin to real world impact, that's what was happening. Was there was some person out there trying to scan the World Wide Web and find UniFi OS consoles that were publicly exposed. So the setting that you can have control over, turn on or off, is allow remote direct connections. So if you're running older software, have that setting enabled, people could use this vulnerability to get into your console, add a new administrator account. I saw people saying that they had logs showing that like they pulled backups of their network settings.
Ooh, yeah.
And of course, yeah, once you have admin access, you can do just about anything. So very serious vulnerability. It is fixed in all of the latest versions of UniFi OS. So I think for all the cloud gateways, that's 5.1.12. The UniFi OS server's kind of standalone application is 5.0.8. NVRs and NASs are the 5.1. So make sure if you're running any UniFi OS devices or UniFi OS server, UniFi Network application self-hosted, make sure to update, and might be a good time to rotate some passwords, check through your logs, check the administrators that you have, all of those things.
Yeah, pretty scary. I've never enabled the direct remote connection because I always prefer to go through Ubiquiti's cloud broker. So personally, I mean, some people did want to use that direct remote connection, but it said it seems to target devices with direct remote connection. So I guess we're not fully sure on that, but it is a bit worrying when this sort of stuff happens. But Ubiquiti have patched it quite quickly, which is good. So.
And just a couple other small bits of news. I did see on May 12th they had a community update where they finally broke out UniFi, UISP, and Amplify into kind of like 3 separate sections, which is a nice nice kind of clarity for navigation there, keeping those products separate. And the other big thing was the UniFi Design Center got a very large update. It got kind of like real-time collaboration features, kind of a rack view. So as you're picking equipment, you can kind of lay out your rack and see, how much space you need for all that equipment. And then I think this is new. They have a mobile app that kind of does the same thing. So that's a really nice thing.
Oh, sweet. That's quite good. Yeah, I've now completely forgot that there is a separate section to the forum because I just log in as usual. And I see I just don't even think about it. I just see the stuff on here. So it has tidied things up a little bit, but maybe it's made Amplify and UISP a bit more hidden than it used to be.
Probably by design.
Yeah, quite possibly. There has been, I'm just scrolling through, there has been a handful of updates in the past month to various UISP and Edge Switch products, but yeah, there we go. And then there's also, I did see this, there's also installers.ui. So since we last recorded, I went to the UWC, the UniFi World Conference, with my friend James, which was really good. And they actually mentioned, they talked about installers.ui.com there. So this is like a directory of approved installers that you might be able to get to install some UniFi stuff at your place. So by the sounds of things, of what they said is that you have to submit a request to be included, and then they'll make that process a bit better. But it does seem quite good. So you've got the sort of a certified partner list of who can install certain things. So
yeah, that's when I look at my location, I see a bunch kind of in my area, and they all, I don't know if you have to be a UniFi certified partner to be listed here. I think that's kind of the implied thing. So it's like,
yeah, if
you participate in our program, we'll hopefully send some people your way by listing you in the directory. So I think it's a good thing for both sides there.
Oh yeah, and it seems like it's worldwide because even in London, there's 14 pages of installers that you can contact. So that's quite good. And it gives you a list of what they support. So engineering and low voltage cabling, that sort of stuff. So it seems pretty good.
Yeah, very cool. I guess we're onto the hardware now, huh? This is a very long list. We'll have to slowly plod through here.
Yeah. So when I went to UWC, they had some hardware out on the show in sort of the show floor, I call it, not in the presentation area that you could take pictures with. So I put some pictures up on Twitter. And they had the NVR G2 Pro out on the stand, and then they talked about the NVR G2, and then now they've been released, so we can actually freely talk about them. So it's probably worked out quite well. These devices were sort of mentioned last year, and they basically said that we're going to have some devices coming soon which are going to have built-in AI key, for lack of a better word, and built-in viewport. And yeah, we've basically got an update to the NVR 4 and an update to the NVR Pro with the NVR G2 and G2 Pro. And they're exactly that. We've got better specs. It's got double RAM on both models, which is good. So 16 gigs on the 4 bay, and then the 8 bay I think has 32. and they've got a nice refreshed design. So they're more rounded, they're less sort of squared off and less harsh design. They've got quite a nice design in person, to be honest. Yeah, better CPUs, 2.5 gig RJ45, Bluetooth built in, and then as I said, the AI key is built in now. And I thought I wrote a piece about these for the Hostify blog, and I thought these are quite good value, because if you bought a normal NVR4 bay and then you added an AI key on top, that AI key alone cost more by itself than the NVR G2 without any hard drives. So if you're starting out fresh and not sure what you want, it's probably, depending on what you need, if you just want a basic system, then probably the first gen NVR is a good choice. But if you're starting out fresh, it's a good value proposition, really, because you've also got the AI key built in, as I said, but also the viewport. So a HDMI port on the back of the NVR, which does actually have a little hit in terms of capacity. There was a bit of a hit there. So I think these are great. It's going to work for a lot of people. The one thing I've heard from traditional CCTV installers is that typically with older systems, they would have a little box in the corner next to a TV, and they would expect everything to be run off that, whereas that isn't until now possible. You couldn't have everything run off it, and now you kind of can if you just add a PoE switch. So I kind of like these. They're a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, to agree with what you said, I would say two things. There's a lot of small details with the AI features and limitations there, and I think the built-in viewport, we first saw that with the Instant, and I think that was a great fit for that product, because that's meant for 4 to 8 cameras, small little desktop form factor. Probably you can just put it where your monitor is. I think these being rack mount makes the HDMI feature a little bit, like the built-in viewport's a little bit more awkward, because you're going to have a display in your rack, and then are you going to have someone watching that monitor in the network rack or that room, or a very long HDMI cable, or I don't know. Great feature. Yeah. I just think it's a little bit more complicated when you put it in a rack. But did you see all the different tiers of AI features and what you need for what?
I did. So, I mean, you can add an AI key to the NVR, so it will sort of expand
there's features that require an AI key still. So the G2 UNVR support natural language search, object indexing with find anything, where you can like type dog and it'll find the dogs. Person re-ID and search by image. You still need an AI key for AI summaries, speech transcription, face, and license plate detection. So I think that's the big one. It's the same thing where, like, if you have an older camera, you need the AI port. But if you have the new G4, G5 AI models, it's a kind of a complex overlapping thing. But I think that's the big one to call out. Is yes, it has the AI key built in, but it's not every feature. Maybe that'll change over time, but just wanted to call that out.
To be fair, that's probably why they've avoided using the language saying it's got an AI key built in, because I've not seen that language used anywhere. They've probably just said it's got AI features, which I did notice that and thought it was a bit strange. So yeah, I didn't get that far and notice that there were some things that it couldn't do. So
yeah, they also have a FAQ item where it says you can, like, on the G2 model store page, it says like you can add an AI key to expand capacity, reduce edge AI latency, and ensure no events are missed. So it seems like you get kind of the bare minimum AI features built in, and of course, spend a couple $100 more if you want all the fancy features.
Pretty nice. The main thing with the actual hardware is that the Pro model previously had 7 bays because it had a little screen, and we've now got a proper 8-bay hard drive array, because I guess people didn't really use the screen, so we've now got an extra hard drive bay, which is good.
Yeah, and higher camera limits. Previously, you could do only up to 24 4K cameras on the Pro. Now you can do 50.
Nice.
So all that extra CPU power going to work.
And then you've outlined here in the show notes that when you are using the viewport that's built into the actual NVR itself, there was a bit of a hit in terms of the capacity that it can do, because it's not using a separate device like a proper viewport would be. So there's a bit of a CPU hit there in terms of what you can actually use. So yeah, all good. I'll put some links in the show notes for that. But yeah, some pretty nice updates. I like the design of them. They are a bit more expensive than they used to be, but you do get a lot more for your money. And if you are looking for those advanced features, the value proposition sort of makes sense a little bit. So
Yeah, and the old ones are still available. I don't know if that's like a until we sell out of them thing, or if they're just going to be for sale for a while. So if you do want a cheaper option, then you can still get the old models.
yeah, nice.
Speaking of cheap, the 5G backup. We got a couple months ago. We got the 5G backup Max. Or that's the product I'm thinking of, right?
Yeah, that's the one. I'm not sure when that arrived. I lose track of when things actually happen. But we've got the 5G Max. It's like a big array thing that's indoor, and then there's the 5G Max outdoor, which arrived. When did that arrive?
A couple months ago, I think. Yeah, those were like the first models, and now we have a. This is U.S. pricing. It's $99, so much cheaper, much smaller. It called out. It says compact PoE powered 5G red cap antenna system with versatile mounting that plugs into any UniFi PoE port to automatically provide backup internet. I didn't know what red cap was, but I was like, "Ooh, that sounds cool." And then I looked in the FAQ and they say 5G red cap is it's short for reduced capability. So I'm feeling that's why they shortened that and turned it into a snazzy sounding name, because that sounds much less exciting. But the bottom line with that is it's not meant for maximum throughput. It's just meant to be a kind of reliable, slower backup connection. They call out 30 to 80 megabits per second download and 10 to 20 upload, depending on signal strength, your carrier, etc. So it really is a cheap way to get kind of a mission critical backup connection there for cheap. They're partnering with T-Mobile in the US. I don't know what they have for the UK, but it's unlocked, so you can put in your own SIM card as well.
Yeah, there's a when you go to purchase it on the US store, there's a checkout flow which is quite expensive. The data plan is built in. Well, from my perspective, because their data plans for SIM cards in the UK is quite cheap. It's unlocked, as you say, but I did do some research on RedCap. So typically, 5G that you have on your phone uses 100 megahertz channel widths. RedCap drops it down to 20, which goes hand in hand with the lower latency claims. The U5G, which is the 5G backup device, says 220 megabits down capacity and 120 megabits up. And then for comparative sake, the 5G Max can do 3.5 gig down and 560 up. It also uses less antennas. There's less MIMO capability there. And when I was researching it, it's designed for low power needs, so I guess IoT devices, but I guess to do with how much less hardware it requires, I'd imagine it's probably helped with the price tag. It is very cheap. It's £95 in the UK, and you say $99 in the US. So
yeah, and I'm looking. I see that they have an eSIM data pack for 10 whole gigabytes. It's $60. So U.S. telecom pricing is always bad, but that's pretty rough. You can chew through 10 gigabytes pretty quick. So yeah, probably better off to, probably better to find your own SIM card and pop that in on a different carrier. But very cool option for backup internet though.
So it's indoor only. You can window mount it, wall mount it, do whatever you want with it. You can't add any external antenna with a RP SMA connector, but it's a good option if you need some kind of thing like this. It will work like the outgoing ULTE, where you can plug it into any port on the network, and it'll make a GRE tunnel internally and do that kind of magic stuff. So that's quite a nice feature. So you just put it wherever you've got best signal. So all good. Well, this came out a little while ago now, and it's only just been made available. It's the EAV-Bridge. As far as I can understand, this is meant for sort of large scale displays and different things like that, and running video feeds over a network. Essentially, there isn't that much documentation in terms of what it can actually do, but it's a little grey box that's got 2 HDMI ports. It's got 4 audio connections, Ethernet, USB-C, and you can use it as a source or a destination for the audio. But I can't quite fathom the actual specific use case for it. As I said, I guess it's, from what I understand, I guess it is running video feeds over the network, which has traditionally been quite tricky to do.
and audio. I mean, in their hype video, they show it. They love to show FedEx Forum. That's the like NBA arena in Memphis where Robert Parra happens to be the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies. But yeah, I think that maybe is a bit of an exaggeration for scale. But if you just imagine like a conference hall, smart display, anything where you're running synced audio and video in like a larger space, and you have multiple speakers, and those things need to be in sync. That's really what this is meant for. It's either audio or video over IP, and this just gets you a Ethernet an HDMI or an XLR input or output, and then connects that to your network. And it also ties in with the next product, the pretty pricey, the enterprise AV switches. So I think we've heard bits and pieces about both the bridge and the switches over time, but now they are both fully out there. The switches themselves, there's two different models. They have a Ethernet model and a fiber model. So the the EAV XG24 PoE has 24 10 gig PoE+++ ports and 400 gig QSFP. The EAV fiber has 20 10 gig SFP plus and the QSFP uplink. So if you invest in those switches, invest in a couple bridges, you could set up a down to the millisecond synced AV presentation in like a big hall or convention center or something like that. There's a lot of very specific things that I don't think either of us know about like how those things are timed, all the different industry standards for that, and it seems to be pretty well supporting all the common big players in the AV space. So the fiber switch is $3,000. The Ethernet switch is $4,000, and then those bridges are $300 a piece. So don't expect to do this for your a home theater in the basement, probably, unless you really want to go over the top. But yeah, very cool hardware. And finally, I mean, they've been talking about the AV, and they've had the AV profiles in the network application. All of these things are meant for this hardware, so it's out there.
Yeah, they teased these devices last year at UWC.
Yeah,
and then they fully announced them. It was last month, I think. They spent a long time talking about these, and it's PoE budget. So like the PoE one has got over 2,000 watts of PoE capacity. It's bonkers.
Definitely necessary, for sure.
Yeah, it's got like two different power supplies. Uses GPS input for syncing the clocks on here, and yeah, just it's crazy. They made a big point about supporting the AV profile, so Dante, Shaw, and all those different ones that they do support, and they did say that they're working on more, because I'd imagine there probably are quite a few. They talked about this with a lot of confidence, and the fact that they knew it was quite important. So yeah, it's good, and it's basically in very large areas like the FedEx Forum. They use that as an example. Having the audio be in sync can be a bit if it's out of sync slightly, it can be a bit jarring. This whole system will do its best to be in sync, and like delay things and time it all quite nicely. One of the things they mentioned was, what did they say?
I don't know, but did they mention anything about the console port? Because that is my favorite little bit on this product.
Yeah, they said that they've sort of been listening, and they know the console ports are quite important for troubleshooting things when the network's offline and that sort of stuff. So yeah, they made a big deal about it.
Yeah, so they have a port on the back for the SMA port GPS input. So that's for the timing of all of that. Right below that, they have a bog standard serial management port, which is amazing, because that. I'm trying to think back. They had those on every first gen switch, I believe. But then when they went to the second generation switch, none of those, maybe there's a few exceptions, had that. The Enterprise Campus stackable models have it, and now the Enterprise AV switches have it. So maybe it's only going to be on those high-end models, or maybe they're going to start rolling them back into normal models. But very handy to have some out-of-band management, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, very exciting times. Very specific, I don't want to say niche, but it's quite a niche industry compared to just traditional networking. So, but it's good that they're offering this kind of thing, and they're obviously viewing it as a an important part of their business if they spent all this time and money developing it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, all that time and money. Do you know what that gets you? It gets you hyperscale class. And speaking of hyperscale class, it finally is real. Did you see the beastly new Dream Machine?
Yeah, they spoke about the Dream Machine Beast at the conference, but they didn't. They mentioned all the specs, which I forgot instantly, and then this was announced shortly afterwards. But they had it on they had it there to sort of have a look at. But one of the few of the people I was talking to that I was there with, they couldn't. It sort of sits. I can't think of the word. Like there's too much overlap in terms of the different UDMs they've got now. Basically, this adds another complicated option, but it has a lot of capability. It's a very impressive device.
Yeah, it's above the Dream Machine Pro Max, which that's what $600 or so. I think maybe I'm wrong there. But it's below the Enterprise Fortress Gateway. So it's between those two in price. There's a few small things where, like, it has. Speaking of the console port, the Dream Machine Beast has a console port, but oddly enough, the more expensive, bigger, badder Enterprise Fortress Gateway does not. Also, the Dream Machine Beast runs every UniFi application. It has those two drive bays on the front, so you could have it as a Protect MVR. The Enterprise Fortress Gateway is only network. So it's this weird, very capable, but still all-in-one situation. Like, I almost thought this would make more sense kind of in the Enterprise Fortress Gateway model, where it is at that scale, you only want this device to be your firewall and router, maybe optionally like your controller as well. But if you start adding access hubs, cameras, all that stuff, I mean, that's a lot in one device. But yeah, it's the specs are very, all the numbers are large. They call out 7,500 clients. You can manage 750 UniFi devices, up to 100 HD cameras or 40 4K cameras. The interfaces there, they have two 25 gig SFP28, two 10 gig SFP plus, 8 10 gig RJ45, and two 1 gig RJ45. So a lot of capability, a lot of throughput, a lot of power, all the other features that we come to expect, like shadow mode and DC power backup, etc. Yeah, it's what, $1,500? So are you going to be buying this for your house or
No.
no? Okay.
No. Well, I was looking at the spec sheet, so it's $1,500, and then the EFG is $2,000 basically. In nearly every metric, the UDM Beast is better. Like in nearly every way. Like it manages more devices, it can have more users attached to it. It's got more WAN ports that it can have, and yeah, it just goes on and on. And the only real, the IDS IPS throughput nearly double, which is crazy. It's got the only thing it doesn't really have is hot swappable PSUs, and crucially SSL inspection and URL filtering. That is still limited to the EFG. So there's we've mentioned before, like with the the switch models, that there's a lot of overlap and it's a bit confusing, and we haven't really seen that until this has come along, and it makes things a little bit complicated. They can't really see the
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's always a lot of asterisks and qualifications. Like, I don't think, yes, you can, they say 750 plus managed UniFi devices. You can't do that at the same time as you're pushing 25 gigs of throughput, at the same time as you're managing 40 4K cameras, at the same time. Like, I think those are like individually, and if you plan to use it as an NVR, you could probably expect that capacity to come down a little bit on the other areas, just because there's only so much CPU time to go around.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the Enterprise Fortress Gateway, I think more than anything, the Dream Machine Beast makes that look like it needs a replacement or it needs a hardware revision. So I don't know if the Enterprise Fortress Gateway Beast or Core or whatever acronym whatever name they're going to tackle in there would be coming soon, but yeah, it is kind of a weird overlap. It muddies the top of the line a little bit.
Yeah, I've forgotten the details and I can't really mention them anyway, but there is a more powerful EFG coming.
Just speculation. I don't know the details you're talking about, but they did the Enterprise NVR, and then they did the Enterprise NVR Core. And the NVR Core can do, like, you can use them. There's an expansion slot, so you can have like 2 or 3 of them tied together. Of course, way higher throughput capacity for camera count and all that stuff. So I would assume Enterprise Fortress Gateway Core coming soon, but we'll see.
We will see, yeah. But yeah, a little bit confusing. And we've now got Dream Machine Beast, Pro Max, Pro, and Special Edition. So, yeah. Anyway.
The name, it's the name for me. I'm more that, like, it's for what you're getting. I think it's a reasonable price. The features that are built into it, pretty impressive. It's just like that font that they put Beast on the front. I don't know, man.
I remembered what I was going to say. The software with the AV switches. There's, I guess we'll get to it in the software section, but there is going to be tied in with that, because you can manage those devices, even the little bridge device, within UniFi Network. So there's no dedicated software stack for it all. You can manage them all within UniFi Network. There's going to be a whole flow of where the latency has increased or decreased, and you'll get a very clear view where it's correcting things. So that was the thing I was trying to mention.
Yeah, I mean, they showed that for half a second in the hype video. Interesting that it's tied into UniFi Network, but that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I just half expected another controller.
We need more software, different apps.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of software and UniFi Network, this was just looking at the past 2 months as a whole. I mean, we've had kind of 3 big releases for UniFi Network. We talked a little bit about 10.2 in our last episode, but that was an EA. But just kind of as a refresher, because this went GA right at the end of March. I think it was like the day after we recorded, maybe. But yeah, Network 10.2 was end of March, or right at the start of April. That was Port Manager Time Machine, topology view improvements. They added Device Supervisor, which is like you can automatically reboot a device if it goes offline or doesn't respond to pings.
Yeah.
And of course, the infrastructure topology and digital twin was like that. I think we were very confused about that feature at first, but it seems like a really nice way to kind of map out your rack and map out all the connections between your infrastructure. And together with that, I've been playing around with it a little bit. The time machine is really cool to go back in time and see, oh, hey, at 2 p.m. yesterday, this link went down or anything like that. It's a really nice way to kind of have a timeline of connections going up and down or problems on your network. Did you play around with any of that yet?
I haven't really had time to mess around with that stuff. Yeah. But no, I guess we'll get to it in a second. But I think in one of the teaser videos they said that the digital twin is now going to allow you to add third-party devices. I think, and you can add those to your rack. So that's quite nice. But it just gives you, it goes hand in hand. Like loads of network infrastructure that's deployed, typically the person adminning it has never been to the site, but it happens. So you get a good view in your head of how everything's laid out if someone adds it to the UniFi controller. So that's quite a nice addition.
Yeah, very cool stuff. But yeah, that was 10.2, and then mid-April we got 10.3. So that was 10.3.55 was middle of April. And the big features there were identity firewall, improved device monitoring, OWE support for Wi-Fi broadcasting, bunch of smaller things. But the identity firewall is probably the big headline feature there for 10.3, and that's where you can create firewall rules. You can tie into UniFi identity, so you could have like a group of employees and allow them to a specific internal, web server. Anything like that. You can also do individual users, so you can make rather than referring to an IP address of a client, or you would refer to that user identity in your rule. So it makes a interesting way to kind of create your firewall rules based on user rather than device, because IPs can change, MAC addresses can change, but I haven't really played around with that, but it seems like a really nice addition to the firewall features there. The other stuff seems pretty minor, but anything else with 10.3? What were you saying? Yeah,
the identity firewall, that would actually get around all the problems with rolling MAC addresses. Because if people use the login the UI identity thing, I mean, that's tied to their devices, regardless of what the MAC address is. So that's quite handy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure on that specifics. I would assume you would need, like, if you're using your company laptop, you would need to run the identity client software on that, or I'm not sure exactly how it ties into detect
I'd imagine so.
this is that user. So I think you need to put a piece of software on every workstation you're managing, and then maybe there's like some sort of sign-in flow for wireless. I'm not sure how I've never really used UniFi Identity, so I'm not sure the specifics there, but
I deployed it at my old job when it was in its early phase, and I don't imagine it's probably changed a massive amount. To join the Wi-Fi, you can use Google Workspace, or you can use Microsoft 365. That's how you sign into the Wi-Fi, and you have to use the UID app on your laptop or your phone. So that's the flow. You have to have that app to join the Wi-Fi network, and then it'll be whatever devices you log in with, it will be tied to your ID, and then you can do firewall bits and pieces that way. So
yeah, and I assume it can tie into, like you mentioned, Google Cloud, or probably more common is like Microsoft AD or Entra. So I think you don't have to use UniFi Identity, maybe, but you probably still need the software on the workstation to tie into those things.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so that was 10.3. Bunch of other little small things there, but the bigger, more recent news was Network 10.4. We got a hype video for this. Did you see that video, or do you know anything about 10.4?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the big things are what? eBGP peering with your ISP, automatic IPv6 detection, WireGuard supports IPv6, WAN insights, Wi-Fi airtime visibility. I really like they have a new routing user experience, or FIB table. So they've played around with that a lot, but it's a better view for all of the different ways you can route traffic, whether it's a static route, BGP, OSPF, etc. That's all in one view now. Do you play around with 10.4 at all?
I'm looking at 10.4 right now. I like the new WAN Insight page, because all you do now is click on your ISP, and it opens up this separate table, and you've got loads of information about what it's doing to determine if the internet's up. So if you've got your own SLA set in UniFi Network to ping various IP addresses or domain names, or do DNS checks, you can see exactly what it's doing and if any have passed. That's really handy. I mean, with an ISP that isn't using a UniFi 5G device, it just gives you like latency information, uptime, and that sort of stuff. But if you are using a 5G Max or a U5G potentially, it will give you way more information about it'll give you the RSSI, or the signal level of that 5G device. It'll pull that through. And also, I'm not sure how it works, but with Starlink as well and satellite services, it'll also pull in critical data from those services too. So yeah, I mean, it looks great. Really good. And there's logs for the internet quality in there. The speed test information tells you when it went down. I mean, yeah, really good improvement. There's loads of little things they're adding to UniFi Network that just add a lot of sort of a nice user experience now, rather than focus on massive features sometimes. But
yeah, and it made me laugh when I was looking at the 10.4 release video on Ubiquiti's YouTube page. One of the top comments was like, "I'm never going to use any of this, but thank you for adding it." Like, that's the other impression. Like, I wasn't paying super close attention to these releases as they went, but I did just install 10.4 the other day, and that was the first thing it popped up. Because before I even read the release notes or knew what was in the release, it said like, "Hey, IPv6 detected on your WAN. Do you want to enable that?" Which I think all the IPv6 stuff that they've done to push that and present it and handle things automatically, that's all good. Because unfortunately, we kind of need to encourage IPv6 adoption. It's not really as common as it should be. But that was the other thing, is like I was looking at my dashboard, and there's 800 graphs and widgets, and it takes 20 milliseconds to get to Google, and I'm just like, it's almost a little bit overwhelming if you're just looking for some really basic view there. But more information is more better for a lot of people, so it's there if you want it.
Mine's 12 milliseconds, so yeah, I win.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll get a better. Maybe I'll get a 5G backup, and that'll improve my latency.
There you go. Yeah, but I think what you were saying about people don't use it. I mean, it's a product which has got a very very wide amount of user base. So it's got home people with a UDR at home, but it's what they're trying to target. It's the enterprise market as well, and they need these features like EBGP and IPv6 support, all this sort of stuff to actually appeal to those enterprise users, which they're still struggling with a little bit. So it's going to weird out some people because it's too advanced for them, and it's going to be, yeah, it's in a weird place. I don't think any other hardware providers like that, really. I don't think they have such a wide variety of knowledge between different customers, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough to add those features and not alienate people that are not networking people. I think they've done a pretty good job balancing that. On the other end, like, I may become looking from the enterprise networking world down, and I saw eBGP peering. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I went to go, just look at what the settings look like. And what you have to do for that is you have to upload a configuration file in the FRR format. So you have to basically type out your BGP configuration, save it as a text file, upload it. I didn't go through all that because I'm not peering with my home internet connection provider here. But yeah, so like it's really cool that they're building their way up to all these enterprise features. But on the other end, it's like, I'm used to enterprise networking. Give me a command line. Let me, handcraft my beautiful config. It's a weird in between, but they've done a pretty good job balancing those two things.
And then there was Cloud Gateways 5.1.12, which came out a few days ago. This one fixed that security advisory which we mentioned earlier, so 064. It also had support for ad blocking and content filtering with policy-based routing. This whole policy-based routing stuff, I finally had time to sort of dive into it and play around with it the other day, to do DNS records. I mean, like firewall rules for my HomeKit device, and it all is quite a nice experience, a lot better than it used to be. It's probably a bit out of date sort of viewpoint, but it's really well done. It's a lot easier to understand than it ever used to be, I think. So that is all good.
Were you doing that with the new zone-based firewall?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember when we first talked about that, you just didn't know what you were looking at first. So I think they improved the interface a bit, but it seems like they did a better job of explaining it in the UI and laying it out to make it kind of clear of what things should go where and all that.
Oh yeah, it's really good. And the policy, what's it called? We've got the zones and the policy table itself. I mean, yeah. I was doing something. I was generating some Let's Encrypt certificates for my NVR and my UNAS, and then I could do all the DNS stuff in UniFi Network, and that whole process is so easy. So it's really good.
Look at you go, man.
Yeah. And speaking of which, automatic Let's Encrypt certificates. That got added a few days ago, so that's pretty good. That seems to work quite well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's a pretty minor release. The main reason I call that out is 5.1.12 is what you want to update to for the security build, and
yes.
Then UniFi OS Server 5.0.8 is the other one where they fix that issue. So make sure to update.
And then finally, there was a few small updates. So Access Point 8521 added MLO mesh support. Is that the update that's required for the AirWire to work at full capacity, I think, isn't it?
Well, this was back, I want to say this was mid-April. So this was for all the U7 and E7 devices. I think doing this live on the fly here, I think it was 8.6.10. Either way. But yeah, just the big feature call out there on 8.5.21 in mid-April was the MLO support. So a lot of people were looking for that. AirWire and the UDB switch need that version or newer for MLO. So
yeah, nice,
very cool stuff. And then you noticed this is like the tiniest of tiny little updates. You're always trolling around on the accessories pages and going through every single category and saying, "Oh, I didn't notice that before." But you noticed 2 new devices, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to keep calling back to UWC because it seems like everything ties back to that. Last year, someone asked a question and said, "Can you make some Ubiquiti branded speakers because I want to use them with the UniFi Play device?" And around a year later, they've come out with their own speakers. So these are quite well priced, relatively. They are $150 for the in-ceiling speaker, which is a circle, and then $179 for the in-wall. And they have pretty much the same specs. They're designed to work best with the UniFi Play power amp. but they're just a standard passive speaker, so they will work with anything. And I think I just thought that was quite interesting. Ubiquiti also started selling its own branded audio cable, and that's around £300 for a big reel of it. It's about 150 meters. So yeah, I mean, it's all good. In both the speakers, there's a 6.5-inch woofer and a 1-inch tweeter, and the tweeter can actually be moved around manually to angle towards you. So if you've got it in a home cinema, for example. So
Yeah, they don't call out anything related to like the EAV-Bridge or switch, but yeah, I feel like if you end up buying a Enterprise AV-Bridge and the Enterprise AV switches for your home, might as well throw in some speakers too.
I mean, yeah, if people are ordering it from the Ubiquiti store using the design center, if they can sell more stuff, then I mean, hats off to them. Yeah.
Add a power amp, add some speakers, add some gold-plated speaker cable. You know, you'll be rocking in no time.
Yeah, sounds good. You can listen to the podcast through your speakers. It'd be quite good. Yeah.
That would be horrible. Please don't do that. Please do not do
that. I think that's it for these 2 months. We'll be back next month. It's been good to catch up on what's been going on. Again, apologies we've not been here for the past month, but just things get in the way, unfortunately. Lots of exciting stuff. The UDM Beast. We talked a little bit about UWC, which was very enjoyable. And just nice feature-rich episode. I think pretty good. Yeah.
Install your updates, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening or watching. You can find my website, theinterface.uk, and my YouTube channels as well. And what about you, Evan?
evanmccann.net.
Nice. Is there anything new on there yet at all?
Absolutely not.
No.
It's the same as it was last month, but
nice. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next time, same time next month. Thank you.
See you.